The Third Wish is a point-and-click adventure game. It's a wonderful adaptation to the short story The Monkey's Paw. To sum up a 4-minute video, it's a great indie game with amazing artwork that has very few flaws, all for free. It's inexplicable that The Third Wish is only the third game this guy has released, and I think if you haven't played this game, you definitely should. For context, I'm briefly going to go over the background of this game and then a little bit of the plot. George Broussard, the creator of this game, has only made 2 games before The Third Wish, those being The Seeker and Stowaway, which share very similar art styles to this game. As I said earlier, he takes heavy inspiration from The Monkey's Paw, but what he does differently is that he takes this story and he puts it into a sci-fi world, which is a refreshing take that I personally have never seen before. The Third Wish is set on a planet called Altar 4, where you play as Mr. White on his family farm with his wife and son. Starting off, you live the normal day-to-day life of a moisture farmer, dealing with sand cats, power outages, and a mortgage. After that though, Mr. White's friend, Wells, visits the farm to tell the family about his adventures off-planet. Specifically, he brings up his experiences with something called the Monkey's Paw, explaining that this paw can give you 3 wishes, and additionally going into detail about how he had his 3 wishes granted, but showing almost willful negligence and not telling the family about the dire consequences of using the monkey paw. So we're going to talk about a few different focuses or categories of this game, those being the art style, gameplay, and story. These are the main things that really shape The Third Wish. So I'm going to try my best to break down each of these categories and explain how I feel about them. So I hope you guys enjoy. First off, we got the art style. I know art style is really subjective, so I'm going to keep this part short. Honestly though, the artwork in this game is amazing. Everything from the character sprites to the background images are perfect. I don't think I could find a single thing that looks out of place within this game, even if there was a gun to my head. Which there's not, by the way. Please help me. Now let's go into gameplay. The gameplay in The Third Wish is very simplistic. This is mostly because it's a point-and-click game. You can't really expect much. But honestly, I would even say it's a little too simple. But then again, it does need to say this was made for a game jam in under 2 weeks. So I am absolutely not hating on this game. I'm just giving a tiny bit of critique. But I'll get into the critiques later. Most solutions are very straightforward, and I only had to look at a guide for a very small amount. That does tie into the critiques though, so let's just move on to the lore. The lore is also pretty straightforward. It's just the monkey's paw. It was most literally the book just put in a different setting, which honestly I loved. It was very refreshing. I really liked it. I just wish he added to the plot instead of making a carbon copy. I'm genuinely interested in seeing what other games this creator can make in the future. I just hope he doesn't fall into the same pitfall of just taking this story and applying it to a different setting. So, haha, let's go into the final section, the critiques. Woo. There were very few things that annoyed me about this game. I can really only think about 4 off the top of my head, and those go as follows. Number 1. There's no tips in the game at all. You basically have to complete these puzzles off of dialogue alone, and the dialogue didn't even really lead you in the correct direction of where to go. Even whenever you went as far as to inspect the objects in game, they didn't really tell you anything or like what to do with it. It just made me feel like I was directionless and I had to find out everything on my own. Maybe that's just a me thing though. Second off, I don't think it really explained everything too well. They say you can examine items with right click, but I don't think they also mentioned that you can also open up bags with right click. So I was sitting there for a good like 5-10 minutes wondering how I progress, and all I had to do was right click a bag, and they just didn't tell me I could open a bag by right clicking. Next up, I've got to mention the sand cat thing. You can probably see how upset I was in this clip. I was sitting there again for another 5 to 10 minutes wondering how to progress, and I had already shot at this cat once before, but I didn't know you had to shoot right above the cat instead of the cat itself. And to further drive that point in, you shoot the air one time, it scares off the cat, it comes back. What you're supposed to do after that is look up to the mountain and shoot a rock. They don't hint this at all, they just expect you to find this out by yourself. That really irked me. And finally, there was a feature added that wasn't really used. You could combine tools, it looked like, but it was never used, like I said. But I feel like this could be written off as the game creator just trying to test out new features, and it just wasn't fully implemented. So I'm not going to be a hater on any of these, obviously. I mean, the game was still great, an amazing game all around. It was just, there's a few things that could have been improved, which honestly isn't bad whenever you realize that this is this guy's 3rd game, which still amazes me. Aha, I'm still horrible with transition sentences, so we're going straight to the outro. Haha. For future reference, I just want to let you guys know I'm going to be leaning more heavily into indie games. So if you guys have any niche games that you want me to check out and review, just let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Bye bye.